Organizations that move to cloud-based business systems often have concerns about how the solution will fit into the rest of their IT landscape, now and in the future as their business grows. How will my existing systems interface to Infor? What tools does Infor offer for digitalization of my processes and management of the system? What ways can I access data in Infor Cloud? Can I build new applications in the Infor Cloud as my business needs change? Can Infor's solution help my business innovate with advanced technology like artificial intelligence and machine learning? Let's see how the Infor Cloud answers these questions. Infor's cloud encompasses 4 components. The first component is the infrastructure component. This is the public multi-tenant cloud platform that runs the solution. The infrastructure enables advanced auto-scaling, redundancy, and high performance of the rest of the tiers. The next component is Infor Operating Services. This is our digital platform that enables advanced competitive technologies in your business. These 2 components enable both the application and analytics components in the Infor Cloud. The Infor Operating Service component of the Infor Cloud can further be broken down into 8 logical services. The first is security. These security services save your IT team time in administrating the Infor Cloud by both integrating to your own identity provider, like Microsoft ADFS, for user data, but also to provide a web interface for performing access control activities to those users. Optionally, risk and compliance services may be added to further monitor what employees are doing in the system and enforce policies like segregation of duties. The second is our user experience services. More than just a user interface, this enterprise portal can be branded to your liking and runs all of Infor's applications in a browser or native mobile app. The portal can even contain other third-party apps. The portal also provides role-based personalized homepages for each employee. These homepages push links, analytics, workflow tasks, and corporate messaging to every employee. In this way, your employees receive a modern, simple, consistent experience throughout their workday. The portal also augments the traditional user interface with contextual applications that listen to work the employee is performing and offers additional insights to other activities happening in the business. This breaks down silos and further expands an employee's awareness of the entire business. Casual users can also make use of the digital assistant to navigate or query the applications with natural language without cumbersome multi-layer menus. The third service is document management. This is a robust content management system that manages any kind of digital document, whether it be Microsoft Office docs, videos, PDFs, product images, or photos taken with our mobile app of damaged assets or receivables. Infor's own applications store their content here, but as with all of these services, there's also a full set of APIs for other applications to store, search, and retrieve documents as well. Optionally, an automated scanning and OCR solution can be enabled to connect Office machines to the solution as well. All of this saves labor costs by consolidating documents for different business systems in one place. Next, we have process automation. This is a business process management service that allows triggers in Infor applications, monitored interfaces, APIs, or just a predefined schedule to launch an automated process that connects to systems or humans to complete a business process digitally. This could be a simple inventory requisition approval or a very complex process that sends and receives data to multiple systems, including any of these Infor operating services. By automating previously manual processes, being able to track those processes in flight, and measure their efficiency, you not only experience labor savings, but increase the speed in which business gets done. No system survives on its own in your IT landscape. That is why the Infor Cloud includes enterprise application integration services. Out of the box, these services orchestrate integration between Infor applications, but also excel in connecting other on-premise and cloud applications together. A RESTful API gateway, secure FTP, a bridge to on-premise systems, and more built-in connectors speed integration projects. Translating between message formats is facilitated with visual mapping and scripting tools. At the rate new systems are required by your business, a common integration service hub like this is required to grow at the speed of business. Tightly tied to the integration services is Infor's data fabric services. data being managed by the average company is growing exponentially. Economically storing it, governing the data quality, and managing access to it requires a central advanced data fabric layer. Infor combines cost-efficient storage in a data lake with governance via a data catalog and easy access via native APIs and even SQL. Infor applications replicate their data to this layer so that you have a single place for access. One of the primary Infor applications to make use of the data fabric layer is Infor Machine Learning. While Infor's core applications have baked-in machine learning, this set of services allow you to build your own machine learning models based on the data of your choosing. The visual builder will guide you to select a data set, prep and cleanse the data, and then train algorithms of your choosing on the data to reveal predictions, patterns, and outliers that humans could not have found efficiently on their own. The result is then published to application integration services as an API any other application can tap into. The last set of services in Infor OS is in the category of extensibility. While Infor core applications each have their native tools to modify screens, change labels, make fields required, etc., these services allow you to leap forward into building whole new applications with full databases, APIs, and full integration with the rest of the Infor cloud. This rapid application development environment supports no-code, low-code, or even full-code activities for whatever skill level the business has available. Now, if all this technology sounds a bit overwhelming, don't worry. You needn't plan for all of these services as part of your initial go-live. Infor OS is modular. You can adopt parts of each service at your leisure. The good news is that the technology is there when you need it. This is part of true IT agility, being able to adapt as your business changes and grows. That is what a true modern cloud platform should offer. I want to show you a couple things here. There's a lot of pieces to Ion. Many people believe that Ion is just about BODs. That is not true. Ion certainly does BODs. BODs are business object documents, XML messages that Infor is standardized on between our applications to synchronize data between our applications. And that's usually accomplished through our message queue technology, where we publish a message and Ion decides who that message should then be pushed out to. But know that that message queue can handle any type of message. It can handle IoT data, it can handle telemetry data, CSV, JSON, you name it, we can push it through Ion, and we can transform it, and we can put business rules on it, we can add workflows and monitors to it. That's all possible through the message queue. And it doesn't just have to be between Infor apps, it can be between any app. But the other big part of Ion these days is our API gateway. I know EM has had a web services toolkit in the past, but those web services are over time being migrated into our API gateway. So accessible in the cloud by many different systems using the latest and greatest security alongside all the rest of Infor's APIs. So from maybe M3 as an ERP or OS's native APIs, so that any system can access all Infor data together in one place. And that's really the dream, right? One-stop kind of data mart, right? But modern, in the cloud, RESTful APIs, modern security, all of those things. Those two things, the message queue and the API gateway, are the core pieces of Ion. All the rest of this goes together to form kind of add-on services, because once you have all this data flowing through one place, it makes sense to start monitoring the data. It makes sense that you have to transform that data as it goes from A to B. It makes sense that you'll have to govern that data for data quality with a data catalog, do some automation so that we can maybe make some decisions and call some systems when certain events happen, pull in humans through a workflow, and as we'll see, even connect machine learning in. All those things, specifically how Ion's used with EAM. As I said, EAM will publish all of its events, its BODs to Ion. It can now also, in the cloud, replicate every piece of data over to the data lake. And we'll see why that's important in a second. But then if the customer has other applications in other clouds, those applications are going to either access data via APIs or by sending to a secure FTP site and push data into our system. By the way, Ion has its own API, so you can, it's called IMS, Ion Messaging Service. So you can just another application can push a CSV or XML or BOD or whatever they want into Ion, and it will transform it into whatever format EAM wants, say XML BOD, and now those systems are integrated. The reverse is absolutely true. We can register that third party's APIs, say that's Salesforce, SAP, whatever, in our API gateway. And when EAM publishes its BOD, we can send that data after transforming it into the right format to that third party's APIs. Of course, if it's older school and all they have is secure FTP, we can do more of an asynchronous interface too. New is the ability that if a customer is very much on board with AWS services, they may want data pushed to their Amazon account. And we can now do Amazon Kinesis streams, if you've ever heard of Kinesis before, as kind of a bulk data export method into their, say, an S3, Amazon S3 bucket as a new capability. But really interesting for so many EAM customers is that Ion helps with the integration to on-premise systems as well. Almost every customer has some left behind legacy system that they want to integrate with. And our enterprise connector will act as that secure bridge between on-premise and EAM in the cloud to either push data to AM or bring data back. And we can connect by hook or crook, so to speak, any way you want to those on-premise systems, often older systems. Maybe all they have is a SQL database for us to connect to. And that enterprise connector will be that secure bridge that makes this integration easier because it's always an outbound connector. There's never any inbound connection from the internet to on-premise systems, which customers love. Their network security people love. Often on-premise systems are so old, they were never meant to be exposed to the internet. Their security is not strong enough to be exposed to the internet. And so when we tell them, hey, it's only going to be exposed to a local system, this enterprise connector, and it's always calling out, never allowing any calls in, they breathe a sigh of relief. And it makes the whole hybrid on-prem to cloud integration problem much easier to solve. Once that data from EAM is in the data lake, we can now use it for many things. We certainly use it for our own analytics. And so our burst analytics tools will mine the data lake and build those beautiful charts and dashboards and reports based on EAM data. As we're going to see, our machine learning tool from Coleman also mines that data lake data. So you can see how important the data lake is becoming to our overall strategy at Infor. But also the customer can feel confident that if they have on-premise applications or other cloud applications that need EAM data and specifically are used to connecting to EAM data via SQL or via a direct database call, they can really accomplish very much the same thing by connecting to Ion via a data lake API, or data lake JDBC drive, and now they can query EAM data in the data lake like it was a on-premise EAM database. They can use SQL, call queries to the objects in the data lake, which are named very much the same as your EAM table, and pull that data back into their own applications. So if they've got investments in Tableau, Crystal Reports, Excel, I don't care, whatever they've got, by hook or crook, we can, again, figure out how to give them the tools they need. Maybe it's an API, maybe it's a JDBC driver, maybe we optionally give them our own ETL that, instead of pulling, pushes the data into their local database. But whatever solution they need, the customer shouldn't fear that they have data lock-in in the cloud, that Infor has all their data and they can't get to it. Anything like that. They should feel that the system is wide open and that they can connect to it in a myriad of ways that meets their needs. Quick customer example here, and I'll turn it over to Mike. This was a recent customer. Actually, they've been a customer for years, but I just recently got this diagram from them. It's a diagram they made, not us. I removed their name to protect the innocent, so to speak. But this was a EM customer, heavy in the building industry, and they had a lot of telemetry data on their machines, their big excavator, forklifts and dump trucks and whatever. They were coming from a myriad of different providers. These were like meter readings and mileage, GPS locations. They wanted all of that in EAM, but they also wanted it in their own data mart on premise. And so What we did was connect all of those different providers of telemetry data to Infor IOS. Infor IOS once or twice a day would call these APIs, bring back that kind of IoT style data, right? Meter readings and GPS data. And then according to business rules, push some of it, and transform it, by the way, into a BOD, into EAM, but also through the enterprise connector, push some of it on premise that the enterprise connector then pushed into their own data mart. Okay. EM was also publishing BODs and sending to OS, which was also going on premise, and not shown here was a few other systems that I'll just call XYZ. They were also on premise, publishing purchase order data, sales order data, related information into the enterprise connector that was also being elevated up to the cloud and put into EAM. But you can see how quickly this customer was able to build these complex integrations from a huge variety of different systems, whether it was complex variety of vendors up here doing telemetry or a variety of vendors down here pushing more business data. It didn't matter. Infor had the tools to accomplish this style of integration in the cloud, right, through Infor IOS in the cloud. Our next project here will now be talking to the customer about taking this data mart and the analytics here and possibly moving that into our data lake and into Burst. But because they had such a heavy investment here, they wanted to start off with this type of architecture. So this is common. This is a good case study in how OS can be used to solve asset-intensive customers' integration needs.
I did want to give a little bit of context, and for those of you who may have seen some of Keith and Story and I's presentations at Inforum, this may be a bit of a repeat. For those who haven't, I just wanted to hit a couple of slides before I hit the demo. So what I find when I talk to customers on a variety of machine learning type use cases is many customers suffer from what I call the sliced bread syndrome, right? You got a lot of smart people in your organization. They're trying to solve your business problems, and somebody comes up with a great idea. Maybe you have a data science team. Maybe they built an algorithm that accurately predicts the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow, or whatever your use case may be. When is that motor going to break? What have you? And that's great. But now what do you do with it, right? And when you start talking about how do I integrate that very cool model into my enterprise, how can I start using it? That's where you start feeling like this. It's a lot of work. When I talk to the data science folks, both at Infor and at customers, it turns out that 80% of the work is getting the data ready, right? And that's the challenge. So what I like to talk to customers about when they have machine learning use cases is we got to integrate first. And Keith walked you guys through a lot of different ways that we can integrate and how we can get the data together so that we can start making use of it. And again, Keith's walked you through all of these. This particular demo is going to primarily focus on the ML and the process integration capabilities. But we're also going to talk about a little bit about some of these others along the way. To give you a little landscape, when Keith and I talk to customers about what we like to call applied machine learning, in other words, taking machine learning and using it in a real use case, these are sort of the components that are most relevant. One's in blue. You've got Ion to help you connect the data, whether it's in the cloud or on-prem or an Infor system or a non-Infor system. The assumption that we make is for our machine learning platform is that data needs to live in the data lake for analytics purposes with perhaps a burst, but in this use case particularly so that our machine learning platform can get access to that data. All of that supported by our enterprise security. Okay. Having known that, you can also see some auxiliary lines that we may have in our machine learning cases. We may have some IoT data. We may have other business applications involved. In this particular case, the business application is going to be EAM, but it could be a multiple applications, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just EAM. So with that, I'm going to hop into the demo. And as Keith mentioned, what this demo is, it's an end-to-end demo that shows how we would solve, say, a Freon leak, detecting Freon leaks in an air conditioning scenario. And where this came from is working with a customer on ocean-going refrigerated shipping containers is where the idea for this use case came from. And the idea here is this screen that you're looking at now is just a simple way for me, since I don't happen to have access to a refrigerated shipping container in my home office that I can manipulate. I'm just simulating that refrigerated shipping container's IoT data with this web page screen. What it's going to do is it's going to represent an asset ID, the setting of the thermostat, the cold out to keep the contents in the container cold, and then the return air back to the air conditioner. These are the simulated IoT sensor readings that would come in to the platform. When I send that payload, we should see a message here that a workflow has been started in the cloud. This tenant just happens to be called Stargate. When that workflow starts, that data is sent into the cloud and the workflow begins. You can see that we have already got a notification message from our workflow here at the bottom. And actually, let me click here to show you. Behind the scenes, this workflow, what it's doing, and I'll show you a little bit more about this in a moment, but at a high level, what's happening is the predictions coming in, the numbers are coming in from your IoT sensors. We're passing it into our Coleman machine learning platform, and then we're generating a series of notifications and tasks based on the results of that prediction. So with the values that I sent in, you can see here on this notification, there's less than a 1% chance. Coleman believes there's less than a 1% chance that we have a Freon leak. So things are okay. And that makes sense because these numbers I sent are a normal condition. So let's start to warm things up, right? Let's start to cause a Freon leak to happen. And that surfaces by the discharge temperature. Typically, the discharge temperature will start to go up. I've just taken it from -5 to -3.5. So it's just a bit warmer. And you should see in a moment, we have a new notification from Coleman. And Coleman's saying it's a bit more likely. It's a 17% chance now. Okay. I'm going to warm it up just a bit. That's just some information. And so we are all following along at home. I have that workflow configured that it's not going to take any action until Coleman sees the prediction go above 20% chance. In other words, I don't care. I'm just going to ignore it. However, once the predicted value is above 20%, in this case, I've warmed up our shipping container sufficiently that now Coleman thinks that we have an issue here. Okay. Now, what our workflow is set to do is it only notifies. But once the prediction value is above 20%, it now creates a task. And if you look to the top of the screen, I now have a task. And if I open that task, here's the task. So now that I have a task that I can surface this to my maintenance supervisor as an example. And my maintenance supervisor, based on how I've configured this task in the ION workflow, is I've given them all of the information that's relevant, the asset that's having the issue, the Coleman prediction value, as well as the IoT sensor values that came along to help generate that prediction. So now I've listed several actions that maintenance supervisor can take. So if the predicted value is lower, they may ignore it. However, with this one, it's a pretty much guaranteed chance that there's a Freon leak occurring. So what we can do now is I've given that maintenance supervisor the option to create a work request or a work order in the EAM. So for this demo, I'll create a work order. And in a moment, we should see a notification that indeed a work order was created in EAM for that Freon leak. So I'll quickly show, this is an example. I'm going to go into the workflow and explain a little bit about how that works and why I think that it's a saying that Keith and I like to say is that Infor IOS, we have a lot of cool parts. A lot of cool components, but the power of Infor IOS is all of the parts together. And I think that's what that workflow will kind of bring home to you. This is Coleman, however, and I just want to emphasize that Coleman is our machine learning platform. And as you can see, I like to call it a Lego block style platform. It doesn't assume that you're a data scientist. In fact, we use a citizen developer philosophy in terms of our tooling, right? So this is designed for a business analyst with some knowledge of data scientists to use, rather than just a pure data scientist. It's to put it into the arms of the folks that really understand the business challenges that you have and your use cases. And building those models is easy. Just drag and drop. pull things in from the data lake, build your model, push a button, it pushes it into production. You push another button, and it generates an endpoint in our API gateway. What that means is that model and the predictions behind that model are now available over a REST API anywhere in your enterprise that is integrated into the Infor cloud, right? Anybody with that access to that REST API can now take advantage of the predictions. Knowing that, next step is what I've done is I've embedded that predictive model through an API, as I just mentioned, into an ION workflow. So at the very beginning, I mentioned earlier, off the demo page, I'm receiving the temperature settings, the discharge, the return, the thermostat. Those are coming in as inputs to the workflow. Those inputs are then passed into the Coleman to get the prediction, and then the outputs are then evaluated to first, we'll just send a message to the user to tell them what the prediction was. But then in this decision block is where this is where the power comes in of where you can grab control. So here I can say, this is where I'm saying if the prediction is above 20%, then I want to create a task. And you can see on this page, it's very easy to start defining what those actions might be that your maintenance supervisor could take or whoever that role might be. And then you can integrate through APIs to any other system. In this case, it's focused on EAM, creating work orders and work requests. But in theory, it can integrate to EAM or any other systems. You can do multi-system integrations with these Coleman-enabled workflows, as I like to call them. So another thing that the power of the platform gives you, and I see this a lot with customers, is there's fear, right? Like we love the idea going to machine learning, but we're concerned about our robot overlords taking over. And Keith kind of hinted at that earlier with the whole question of we can support the whole having a human in the middle to make the final decision. Like in the demonstration that I just gave, you had a piece of data come in, Coleman made a prediction, and then we have a task. And it's only when they approve that task is when we're going to take action, right? When they create that work order. However, once we get some comfort with our predictive models over time, it's very, very simple to remove that node out of the workflow, and now you have a fully automated workflow that can go on its way. And based on the prediction being in a certain range or over a certain threshold, you can have things automatically done for you, whether that's creating a work order or any number of other things that you might want to do with your use cases.
Hello, and welcome. In this recording, we're going to be reviewing Infor Mongoose. We'll start by asking, what is Infor Mongoose? Mongoose is a rapid application development framework built by Infor and can be used to build anything, from simple web parts and widgets all the way to complex ERPs. And officially, it's Infor's Extensibility solution. Mongoose is also efficient and fast. Mongoose has been engineered from the ground up to help users build and extend rapidly. It also offers various programming paradigms, such as no-code, low-code, and full-code. Lastly, Mongoose is a cloud-safe development platform. Whether you're extending an existing Infor application or developing a whole new one from scratch. So, what all can you build with Infor Mongoose? Well, lots of things, from extensions to your ERPs, to mobile applications, to standalone applications, to portals, Infor IOS contextual widgets, and more. Next, let's take a look at how Mongoose offers quick and rapid development with different programming styles. First, we'll start with no-code development. A great example of this is the built-in App Builder module. App Builder is a simple graphical development tool. Users can drag and drop the components they want to make a form, such as text, images, inputs, grids, graphs, and more. As the name implies, there's no use of code throughout this entire process. When the user is finished, they're left with a modern-looking and responsive form. Next is low-code development. A great example of this are the many helpful Mongoose wizards throughout the framework. Mongoose wizards do the heavy lifting for the user. With the new data maintenance wizard, for example, a user can fill out the necessary details around what kind of information is needed for their application. Then, After a few clicks, the wizard will perform multiple steps, such as creating new tables in the database, creating new data objects in the middle layers, and even creating a template form. The end result is a fully functioning end screen tailored to the user's information. Lastly, we have full code development. This example is just as the name implies. Mongoose allows users access down to the .NET programming level. At this level, users are free to code in either Visual Basic or C#. Mongoose provides developers full access to the system via the Mongoose library. Users can also bring their own libraries via a DLL import as well. This level of development gives users full control over data access, transformations, and logic at the lowest level possible. The end result are completely custom logic and forms controlled by the user as if it was standard product. Mongoose is able to deliver these different development practices through its cloud-enabled H5 designer. This means users don't have to download and install a local file to run Mongoose's designer. Instead, all of the familiar design tools are now accessible natively from the browser. This includes the full toolbox of common components, the no-code properties panel, and the same easy-to-use point-and-click experience. Mongoose also offers fully responsive design. This is made possible by Mongoose's Flex layout capabilities. Flex components are dynamic and reactive, giving users the ability to reshape as needed. This allows users to set breakpoints, which then allow forms to rearrange themselves dynamically as the screen real estate changes. Mongoose also allows users to extend the component library available in the designer. This is known as the Soft Toolkit. Its purpose is to allow users to upload their own controls as needed. This could be to change the format of a component, or even introduce new components not found in standard product. Another useful feature is master forms. Master forms are used to build out base functionality, such as navigation, tiles, and common events. Just like a template, properties of the master form are inherited by the new forms created against them. For larger projects or features like the runtime builder, master forms are a great way to allow multiple patterns against the same data source. At the core of the Mongoose framework is that of the Intelligent Data Objects, or IDO. This middle layer merges data from the database, which is then presented on the screen. IDOs are used to manage data collections, sub-collections, business logic, and more. This logical middle layer is a great way to build data structures, enforce business logic, and redeploy these objects throughout your application. Last but not least is the powerful built-in integrations to the rest of the Infor OS platform. Mongoose, like most Infor applications, can consume business object documents as a standard integration point. Mongoose can also communicate using JSON messaging, which makes it great for in-context widgets. Finally, with built-in wizards to leverage both Ion API, and the data lake, Mongoose has access to the rest of the Infor technology stack. As you can see, Mongoose has many features which make it a leading application development framework. And the benefits are simple. Mongoose is built for Infor, whether that's pre-existing integrations to Infor OS or the ability to use Mongoose to extend an Infor ERP. Mongoose is easy. Our development framework has a short learning curve and enables users to take part in no and low-code design. And Mongoose is future-proof. With an always up-to-date technology stack built on a true multi-tenant cloud, users don't have to worry about hardware and can instead focus on application design. I hope you enjoyed this video on Infor Mongoose, and thanks for watching.